Make America healthy again. Chances are you've heard this slogan, but what does it mean? Why are newspapers blowing up? Why are certain podcasts featuring, sort of official speakers for this movement? Hey, Coach Lee here. I'm a licensed cycling coach and a certified nutritionalist, and it is a fascinating new political phenomenon that we're entering into these next 4 years for many certain reasons. But the Make American Healthy Again movement, the MAHA movement, is it's all about my health space and things, how it's going to affect me as a coach, things, how it's going to affect me as a private individual. So I want to break down Make America Healthy Again in two broad categories. First, the core ideas behind what makes an individual healthy. All right, you could have 10 nutritionists in a room and they're all going to say 10 different things. What makes someone healthy? All right, so on the individual level. Then on the bigger public policy level, again, you could have 10 nutritionists, 10 dietitians, 10 doctors in the same room, and they're all going to disagree about what public policies that America needs today. The first thing that I want to talk about is that there, yes, is a problem here in America. 77% of young adults don't qualify for military due to obesity or drug use. 75% of adults are overweight or obese. 52% of adults have type 2 diabetes. 30% of teens have pre-diabetes. That's exploding. This used to, in the 80s, this was unheard of. Infertility is rising 1% a year. Sperm counts are dropping 1% a year. Young adult cancer is up at 79%. Yet we are spending 2 times more on healthcare compared to other nations. Yet we have the lowest life expectancy. Our life expectancy is dropping. Here's a great graph. This was published back in 2020. This includes data up until 2021, so you can expect that number to go higher. But here's about nations, how much they're spending on their healthcare. And as you can see, this is America right here. We are outspending all of our fellow nations, yet we are actually unhealthier. Our life expectancy, like how long we're expected to, the average median age for someone to live their life in America, it has reversed. Remember this concept? I remember I was in second grade when I just thought it was really cool that I would outlive my grandparents. At the time when I was in second grade, my grandparents were in their 50s and I thought that they were the oldest possible human beings on earth and that I was going to live longer than them. Well, in America right now, we are so unhealthy as a nation, as individual communities, as individuals, as households, that are we're actually reversing this process. Okay, so what's so fascinating about this particular movement, the Make America Healthy movement, again, is that it's not just a calories in, calories out, count your calories, go exercise more. If you're not exercising enough, if you're getting too many calories, it's your fault. That's pretty much how we've been running since the 80s, the 90s, all the way today. We have more gyms and exercise equipment in our homes and exercise facilities than any time in human history. But yet again, I'll say it, we are, as a civilization, are unhealthiest at any time and situation. Chronic disease, those diseases that you get a pill for the rest of your life, is just through the roof. All right. So what are chronic diseases? Type 2 diabetes, cancer, respiratory illnesses. You could have, long-term skin conditions, joint inflammation, all these types of things, autoimmune diseases, anything that you could get a pill for the rest of your life. And all of these things are exploding. When I get a client, remember, I'm a certified nutritionist. I work with athletes and non-athletes alike. When I get someone in their 50s who is a non-athlete, who has never had a lifelong, commitment to being on sports teams or things like that, they are coming to me with about 5 prescriptions, something for sleep, whether it's the mask, sleep apnea, something to get them to sleep tonight, something for inflammation, something to help with their glucose control, something, related to being pre-diabetic or actually having type 2 diabetes, and something wrong with their thyroid, right? Who would have thought that right now in America, we are having just an epidemic of thyroid issues that are through the roof, and we've never had these before. So the ideas that are forming the Make American Healthy Again want to get to core issues. These ideas all revolve around the idea that if we have these chronic issues, that there's something like, there's a big book of chronic diseases that doctors have, right? It's like 35,000 chronic diseases. Well, there is, a set of ideas out there centered around a term called metabolism, metabolic health, and that if we get our metabolic health back in shape, that we can prevent or even reverse those 35,000 diseases. Okay, so that's a big thing. And so, what does all that mean? Let's go through that. Okay, so metabolism, it's a word that we're going to start here, and for the next 4 years, the influencers. I've been following the influencers, the doctors, the scientists, reading their books. This concept of metabolism is simply how your body uses energy. Okay, it's the energy that you're bringing into your body. It's how you're breathing. It's your hydration. It's all this stuff that's coming in. Then how your body uses it or misuses it, and that's it. Right? And so central to the core idea of the Make American Healthy movement is that, the answer to all these chronic diseases that are crippling the American population is not, count your calories and go play more. The answer is that we have got to pursue massive dietary, nutritional, and lifestyle changes that's going to make us have the ability to live our best and healthy life, right? So right now, if you think about it, Americans, when they're on these pills, for the last 20, 30 years of your life, you're not actually living a better life. You're actually dying. And so you're not living to the day that you die. You're actually dying to the day that you die. Because remember, and we'll talk about this, those pills don't address fundamental root causes. All right. So when I am a metabolic coach, okay, so I have clients that come to me and it's all about metabolism. And so this is kind of how I explain it. So you have a car, right? If you want a car to run great, what do you need? You need great high quality oil. You need great gas, great fluids throughout the car. You need to maintain. You need to take your car to the shop every once in a while to make sure all the filters are changed and, everything is going great. Your hoses are great. Your belts are great. All that stuff, okay? And so what happens, right, for the person who's just putting in the best quality oils, the best quality everything, making sure everything's serviced, right? What happens to the life of that car? It runs great. It has a longer life expectancy than someone who never checks their oil or goes to the cheapest gas in town, right? And so when you have a car and you put in bad gas, if you will, certain things are going to happen. The car's not going to run as good. The engine's not going to fire as well. And then if you don't change your oil, then you have a lot of things. You're running towards disaster when it comes to the life of that vehicle. Now, here's what's really fascinating about the human body. If you put bad gas into the human body, it affects every single one of us differently. So if your daily diet consists of muffins for the morning, bagels and Pop-Tarts and ultra processed foods for lunch, and then you're going home and eating pizza every single night, then this is going to cause problems. This is not the best gas that our bodies can use. It doesn't have the minerals. It doesn't have the nutrients. Plus, it has a lot of other stuff in that ultra-processed food that causes problems, okay? So if you think about a car and compare it to a human being, when you put bad gas into a car, certain identifiable things are gonna happen. And you can say, okay, I'm just not getting great gas in my car. Oh, I got water in my gas, right? Or something like that. But with a human being, you put that bad gas into a human being, and if we think about the car, on this individual, your engine might run okay, but for this individual getting bad gas, their windshield wipers might not work. But for this person, their engine might work, their windshield wipers might work perfectly, but their left front tire won't inflate correctly, okay? And so that's a big thing. That's how fascinating the human body is that you could take 10 people, put them on the same diet over a period of years, and they're all going to develop different symptoms from their poor nutrition, from their poor lifestyle. So for me as a coach, I don't do calories in, calories out with a new client. We talk all about their metabolism, okay? We talk about all about the gas that's coming in. Now, with Make America Healthy Again, one of the things that we're going to hear a lot about is the standard of care, okay? So I have a great story. I was 36 years old. I really went off the rails from 33 to 36. And I went from like 185 pounds to 250 pounds in 3 years just because of work, stress, all the things that I was doing. So I went to a doctor, and the doctor did my blood work and all that stuff. And he hands me 2 prescriptions, one for a blood thinner and then another for a heart medication. And so he doesn't explain them to me or anything like that. So I'm reading these. And I said, hey, doctor, these, you want me to take these for the rest of my life? And he's like, yep. And I said, but is there anything wrong with my heart? And he's like, not really, but you're going in that direction. You're going to have heart disease without this medication. And I said, well, hey, why don't I just stop eating Domino's pizza every night? And why don't I just stop drinking a 12-pack of beer every night? And he looked at me and he said, I can't count on you to do that. So what was fascinating here is that he doesn't even bring up the subject of diet and lifestyle. Okay, my check engine light is on and he just wants to give me the pill. Now the pill, it's like putting a piece of tape over the check engine light, right? So you got the check light on and you're putting a black piece of tape, right? I've done that many times in my life. I have a car, just put black tape, right? So when you take that pill, you're not getting or correcting the behavior that's leading to me to need the medication. Okay. So one of the things that I really focus on is if you're on medication, you have to absolutely take the medication. You have to work with your doctor through that process of the medication. But we want to start addressing root problems. We just don't want to take and put a piece of black tape over the check engine light. We want to really work with you to talk about lifestyle, talk about health, talk about all these things. And so for me, when I get someone, I have a 3-month metabolic plan. All right. Week 1 is hydration. Okay. We just talk about all things hydration, how much hydration you need. Americans are chronically hydrated. And then if we are hydrating, we're, dousing ourselves with sugar-laden drinks and drinks, kind of ultra-processed drinks that have tons of chemicals in them. And so I go through all things hydration. How much should you drink? What is healthy hydration? What do you need in terms of electrolytes in that water to help you? That's week 1, just 1 week all about getting you the best quality hydration possible and to make sure that you're hydrated, but also to get rid of liquid calories. Liquid calories are just destroying the American population right now. Well, another thing, week 2, sleep. Okay, so you come to me and you want to probably lose weight, get healthy or whatever. We don't even start talking about like your calories or meal tracking until month 2. Month 1 is just let's grab some low-hanging fruit. Let's get hydrated. Let's get some sleep. Let's go to the grocery store. Okay, so if you go to the grocery store, I develop a lot of things, but pretty much, 80% of what's in a grocery store, you really need to reevaluate if you should be eating what's in that food store, that grocery store. Our grocery stores have just turned into big, giant convenience stores. So week 3, go to the grocery store. Week 4, all about supplements. And so for me, nutritional deficiencies are driving so much chronic disease in America that my company offers blood work. So you can do a blood work panel for me, or I can tell you what to get with your own doctor. But the idea is that we want to supplement for deficiency. And if we learn through a blood panel what we're doing, what we're missing, the minerals, the vitamins, all that great stuff, then we can supplement for deficiency and we can develop goals. Okay. So here, a common one, common deficiencies in America, vitamin D3, magnesium, like zinc, B, right? There's all these deficiencies that are happening right now, and I can pretty much predict what you're going to be deficient in, and so that we develop a strategy for you to really support your body, not only to find the food, not only to go outside more if you are deficient in vitamin D, but we want to develop strategies for getting all of your body just mineralized and filled with all the great nutrition that it needs to be its best running self. So that is kind of the big picture of metabolism, and a metabolic coach, that's our mindset and how we approach. We want to get you the best sleep possible. There's all kinds of sleep trackers that are out there in the world. Great sleep, great lifestyle. We want you to learn the techniques of handling chronic stress. Stress is a killer, right? We go through all these strategies, I myself in particular, just to help you live your best life. Now, these ideas of metabolism, they're not new at all. I was trying to figure out what was my first book on metabolism that I ever read. And this was a really popular book. This was published in 2002. Unlock the fat burning power of your metabolism. And this was all about metabolic health. So these books have been out here. Here's one, The Metabolic Makeover. This was from 2014. It's all about the energy. So I've been reading these books for, 20 years. I've been living these books. And the answer is not calories in, calories out, counting calories. It's about getting great quality, whole foods, single word ingredients into your body. And right now, especially after COVID, there has been explosions of podcasts that have explicitly dealt with the concept of metabolic health. Joe Rogan's a great example. He has a lot of these, top doctors, scientists, influencers on his show. And the conversation for the first time in American life, when it comes to your health span, is about metabolic health. It's just never been a part of our national conversation. I grew up, my mother, she passed at 64. She was overweight, obese. Her entire life, my whole entire life growing up was book after book of diet after everything that you can imagine. My first memories of a child were supplements that were everywhere. My mother surrounded herself with books and reading and everything that you can possibly imagine. Yet she died from she passed from several chronic diseases at the age of 64. And mothers, my opinion, mothers should never pass, but they should never pass at age 64. And so, these ideas that we're hearing today that are exploding because of this Make America Healthy Again movement are now exploding. All right, so let's go in. So public policy, okay? So they're really vocal about all this. Okay, so the person who is going to be the head of this whole world of health agencies, it's called Health and Human Services, and underneath that is the CDC, the NIH, like all these health organizations. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been tapped to lead that position, and he's super clear. Like we have no. Like that's another thing that's fascinating about the MAHA movement is that they are putting it in writing. That they are super clear about the challenges that they want to tackle. So when it comes to public policy, one of the big things that they want to tackle is the conflicts of interest. So right now, and I worked as a chief operating officer for a pharmaceutical company for 3 years, and I saw this firsthand, and I had never thought about it before. But all the pharmaceutical, the big pharmaceutical companies, the big food companies, and our big health agencies, they just rotate personnel, CEOs, board members, and it's just a never-ending rotisserie of human capital just flowing back and forth. And so RFK has talking openly about that he wants to get rid of these types of conflicts of interest that can come from that type of system. Uncompromised research. And so that's another problem is that so right now we have more research in the world than at any other time in human history. And, there are thousands of articles every year coming out. So we have more research than ever, but yet we just still can't find answers, right? We're still confused about so many issues in terms of the health space. It's really fascinating. So another thing that he wants to do is that he wants to create a system of uncompromised research, uncompromised data. So what does that mean? So much data of what we get either comes directly from pharmaceutical companies or pharmaceutical companies, big food, they're paying for these studies to be done. So for instance, Coca-Cola, they are a big contributor to nutritional organizations, nutritional departments throughout the United States. And he wants to make sure that our data that we're getting, that these studies that are being done are not actually indeed funded by Coca-Cola or funded by Doritos or, funded by some big pharmaceutical industry. He wants independent data to be as clean as possible. Now, in terms of the public, the last one, so he has three things: conflicts of interest, uncompromised research, and reverse chronic disease. So right now, this is according to the CDC. As of this morning, roughly 6 out of 10 people have some kind of chronic disease. And with this reverse chronic disease, which he wants to start to do in 2 years, This is where the ideas of the MAHA movement come in. The metabolic movement, if you will, the metabolic health. And when we think about how to reverse chronic disease, again, you could put 3 doctors in the room and they're all going to, disagree. So the ideas that are going to guide these next 4 years are going to be like, hey, Americans, let's change our lifestyle. Let's start dealing with our chronic stress. Yeah, let's start getting in exercise. Let's start getting great sleep. Let's start getting great quality water, right? But the big picture idea behind all of this is that he wants to acknowledge that there is indeed a chronic disease epidemic. Why are people dying in America? It is from chronic disease conditions like heart disease, like cancer, like, these types of things. And so he, first of all, wants to acknowledge that, yes, there is a big problem in America today. So we just went through a major presidential election campaign. Where I live in the world, all I have to do is to go to any public space whatsoever, whether it's the grocery store, whether it's Walmart, something of that nature. And you can just visually see that people are sick. So where I live in the world, a lot of people have skin conditions. Most people are either overweight or obese according to the definitions, but they have skin conditions. I was behind a guy the other day. He must have been in his 30s, and he just had this huge rash on the back of his head. We see a lot of that. We see just mobility issues, men in their 30s around here climbing out of their big trucks, and it's painful to watch, some people getting in and out of their trucks. And so, and then obviously on Facebook always tells the truth. We've seen the picture, right? What a beach looks like in the 1970s versus what it looks like today. And so just visually, we can tell that we are changing as a civilization, as a culture. And I just work on this on the individual level. I try to avoid politics and public policy whatsoever. I say, if you come to me, then we're going to look at you as an individual. We're going to go through your life, and we're going to go through a lot of different hacks and fundamental changes to get you better. But one of the things that RFK does want to do is he wants to just acknowledge that we're having a problem. Again, we just went through a presidential election, and you would never think that America is just really in a catastrophic place right now in terms of its health. Then he wants to really, change this concept, I believe, of standard of care. I've not heard this spoken about as much, but there's this standard of care. Like if I come to the doctor and my blood says this, then the standard of care is, okay, this is what we do first. This is what we do second. This is what we do third. Every time I've ever went to a doctor, the first thing that they want to do is give me the pill. Give me some prescription to be on. Okay. And now after just going through and really revolutionizing my own body and my own metabolic health, all my blood markers are great with no medications whatsoever. I feel great. I jump out of the bed in the morning and I have no high blood pressure, all this stuff. I'm good. And so there is this standard of care in America because of insurance codes and all of this, that if I come to a doctor and I'm overweight, or I have some blood values that are a little askew, nothing wrong, but are trending in the wrong direction, nothing too bad, but trending in the wrong direction, a doctor could say like, hey, instead of giving you this prescription, that's going to be step 5. Step 1, hey, we got this certified nutritionist. They're right down the hall. Check in, and they're going to go through your diet and lifestyle to make you healthy, wealthy, and wise. Okay. Then if that doesn't work, then, okay, here's step 2. Here's step 3. Here's step 4. Okay. None of this worked. Step 5, and there's no life-threatening emergency on the horizon. Chronic diseases develop over decades. So, the heart disease that you have in your 50s, it started in your 20s, that type of thing. And so you can have some experimentation with the standard of care, and that we try to get to a preventative medicine here in the United States rather than a reactive medicine here in the United States. And you can go through the culture of all this. Many people have spoken about this, that it was the early 1900s where we went from a preventative healthcare very much to a reactive healthcare that continues on to this day. Okay, is that too wordy or what? Hey, so if you have any questions about any of this, reach out. Would love to talk to you. I work with clients on an individual level. For me, again, this is really fascinating because the health ideas on what makes an individual healthy. And I work with athletes. I work with some of the top tier talent in America. I know what your blood needs to look like to be healthy. I know what you need to do in your life to be healthy. But say you're not a top tier athlete. Say you're just out there, you're working, you're a husband, you're a mother, and you just want to live your best life. Reach out, and I would love to work with you on an individual basis. We can talk about these ideas. But this is a really fascinating time in the health space because the ideas that I've been championing for years have finally ascended, and however these things ascend, to Washington, D.C. And so for me, this is really going to be a fascinating 4-year period. All right. Thanks, everybody.